My name is Michael Paul. I am a school counselor here at Wayne Valley High School. And with me is,
Hi, I'm Jessica Feinberg. I'm also one of the school counselors here.
so we're going to share our presentation. And if everyone can see what we're looking at. Welcome. All right, so essentially there are three basic application types, those being listed on this page. Bear with me one moment. All right, so as you can see, there are three separate types of applications. Safety, target, reach. Typically, the safety school is a school that students fulfill the criteria for GPA and potentially if there's a standardized testing requirement. Target is their ideal school where they're looking to go. Specifically, they are aligned with what the school's looking for academically. And then the reach school is a school that may be just slightly out of a student's reach. But it's certainly worth applying in these three formats so that students have a range of schools to potentially choose from when they are receiving their acceptances. Admissions types. There are a few different types of admissions. The early timeline being the early action as well as early decision. The early action is a non-binding application process where students basically have the opportunity to find out early if they are accepted for college. We've seen a significant increase in the amount of early action applications for our students. The early decision is a binding agreement where we actually have to counsel the student, and there is paperwork to be filled out that indicates to the student as well as to the family that it is a binding agreement. And if a student is chosen and has received an acceptance, there is the expectation that they will attend that school. So it is a very serious consideration. Some people may decide to put in for an early decision application to show how serious they are, how important this choice is for them. And that typically will bode well for a potential acceptance because it's showing the college the amount of commitment a student has. You can only have one ED application in at a time, and schools potentially will ask you what are the schools you've applied early action while applying to them as an early decision to see basically where else you're looking to apply, to see where their competition is. The next line is the regular decision. The regular is the typical timeline, usually ending around, I'd say late February.
Yeah.
Late February is usually the regular decision timeline. The rolling admissions, schools that tend to be on the smaller side may have a rolling admissions process, whereas the applications come in, they review them, and then are able to give a decision in a shorter time span. A deferment, as you can see in the bottom left, is basically if a student applies early and they are deferred, this basically the university wants to see how that student measures up to the rest of the applicant pool and will defer them to the regular timeline. So it's not necessarily a no for college application process. It's just a not right now because they want to see maybe you're like the student is their metrics are right on the cusp of an acceptance. But essentially the schools want a wide range of students, but they're gonna push that student off to the regular timeline to see what other students are also applying. And then that last one is the wait list, which exactly how it sounds. Wait list. Sometimes schools will basically make you indicate to them that you're going to accept your spot on the wait list. And if they get to that timeline where they have not gotten enough responses from the students that they have given acceptance to already, they will go to their wait list and offer students as a second round of offerings for acceptance. It tends to be right around that May 1st deadline. So sometimes students feel the pressure of making a decision, but if they're waitlisted on their number one school, it certainly is, a consideration for students to have obviously other applications in place.
Okay, so again, we shared this with students yesterday, but just as some steps that we typically like to give students towards the beginning of their application process, just things for them to work on. So they should all now have access to Naviance, but we understand that students will sometimes forget their login information. It's a very easy reset. So if the student just reaches out to their counselor, we're able to get them access back in if they do not have access anymore. So they can go in and they can add colleges that they're applying to on Naviance. It will be a good indicator of where they're looking to apply. It kind of helps them and us to stay organized with what it is that they're going to be needing as far as their applications go. And then we'll talk a little bit further on as well about the piece of connecting Common App to Naviance. When they do that, we will be able to then see which schools they're applying to, what their deadlines are, and making sure that we're able to send everything directly to those schools. We as the counselors don't have access to their common application, but we do have access to Naviance. So once the student connects their Naviance and Common App accounts, those two platforms are able to communicate, and then we're able to send transcripts and letters of recommendation over to their schools. As far as letters of recommendations go, students have, a lot of them, I would say, have started to ask teachers, or at least have started to think about which teachers they're going to ask. If students haven't already started to ask teachers for letters, we do recommend that they start now and not wait too much longer, just because sometimes teachers will get overloaded with letter requests and then they're not able to fulfill all of those requests if a student comes and asks and they've already got too many students on their list. So speaking to teachers in person first to ask for that request, and then putting that request in on Naviance. And if the student doesn't know how to find that, we are happy to sit down with students and show them where that would be. Of course, working on the Common App, that's going to be the piece that we don't have access to. So students work on that on their own. We're not able to go in and see anything that they're doing, what their progress looks like. So that's the piece that they really are moving through by themselves to get done. Completing the FERPA waiver on Common App, again, that's another piece that we're going to get to more in depth on what that means and what that looks like. But that is a piece that will need to be done on Common App before anything can be submitted. There's going to be a transcript verification form that we're sending out to students. They should be getting it today. That is going to allow us to send their transcript to schools. So for students who attended the college information meeting during lunch yesterday, they received their transcript. And for students who were not able to attend that meeting, they can come by the counseling office and receive their transcript from us as well. So students will review their transcript, make sure that everything looks correct. Of course, it should be, but sometimes weird things come up. If a grade is missing or if something doesn't seem right, they have to let us know so that it can be amended before we send it out to schools. So students, by signing off on the transcript verification form, they are indicating that they've reviewed their transcript and everything looks correct and they're okay with us sending it out to schools. Another piece of that transcript verification form is going to ask which letters of recommendation they want us to send on their behalf. So they may have asked 3 teachers to write them a letter, but perhaps the school that they're applying to only allows us to send 1 letter of recommendation. So we want them to indicate which letter they would want us to prioritize if that's the case. And then finally, submitting SAT or ACT scores if applicable. So some schools are moving back towards asking for testing as a requirement. A lot of schools are remaining test optional, so it's really going to be dependent on the school. Even if a school is test optional, students, of course, may choose to send in their test scores, and that would be done directly through the platforms that oversee the SAT and ACT, so they would send the official scores through there. So for the Common App, it's nice and helpful. A lot of students find that it's a good tool to use because you fill it out once. And then I would say majority of the schools that students are applying to will be on the Common App. So while there are supplemental pieces for some schools, they may ask for short answers or other essays pertaining directly to their school. It's nice because while it can be a bit tedious to fill out, you're only doing it once, and then you get to send it out to whichever schools you're applying to. And then some students, if they are adding on other schools, like say they apply to 5 schools and they decide a couple months from now that they want to add on another school, it's fairly easy to go in and add on another school to apply to without having to do a whole separate application through that school. Again, like we mentioned before, Common App can connect with Naviance. And so it's helpful because we as counselors are able to easily send transcripts and letters of recommendation electronically to all the schools that students are applying to. Colleges accept those as official copies of transcripts and letters, so they are good with us sending it that way. So it really is the most efficient way for it to be sent, and it gets sent immediately. So when a student comes to us and says, this is when my first deadline is, we're able to send off all of their information, and schools receive it that way. So or that day, I'm sorry. So there's no waiting time. Something that we do know is students should use their personal email for the Common App, because the school email will sometimes block emails from Common App or from the schools themselves. So sometimes students will wonder why they haven't heard back from a college yet, and chances are it's because their school email is not receiving those. So use a personal email. If a student has already started the Common App and they have already used their school email, they can reach out to their colleges and ask that they use their personal email instead. It's happened in the past, like it happens, schools are understanding. But if students have the chance to use the personal email.
So there are specific statistics for the class of 2025 that they will need in order to fill out their Common App. Their class size is 320. GPA and class rank are both weighted. We do not publish individual rank. We share individual rank with students if they want to self-disclose their specific numerical rank. We publish it as a decile rank, so as a percentage. The CEEB code is 311573, which they would also need in filling out some of this paperwork. Also possibly some of the scholarship stuff that's later on in the year. So what we had mentioned earlier in connecting the FERPA waiver, connecting the Common App and the Naviance accounts, they first must fill out that FERPA waiver. So the FERPA, Family Education Rights to Privacy Act, which indicates that students have the right to see anything written about them by law. The reality is our recommendation is to waive their right. What that says to a college or university is that the student did not need to preview what was written about them. And that comes off as a more genuine, more honest response from the teacher as far as recommending the student. The reality is if a student asks a teacher to write a letter and the teacher agrees, they're not going to write them a bad letter. They're going to say, I'm not comfortable writing a letter, which very rarely happens because obviously a student is going to choose a teacher they have a relationship with, a teacher that they've had recently, hopefully in either junior or senior year, or they've had them multiple years. So they know they know that student well. Sometimes teachers will ask for a resume or, 1 page, tell me what you want to do in college. They can talk about, what their experience with that student is like, but it gives them also some background and more information to bulk up their letter. So connecting those two accounts is crucial because we cannot send anything out until that is done. And it's very simple. It's a click of a box. And it is on the dashboard on Common App, as you can see where it says my colleges. Every college has potential questions, signing off on that. Once you sign off on the FERPA, they do not need to invite teachers as recommenders on the Common App. They're only doing that portion on the
Good morning, Wayne Valley. Please stand for the flag salute.
Bear with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Have a terrific Thursday, Wayne Valley.
All right, so as we said, matching the Common App to the Naviance account, making sure that they have signed off or checked the box for their FERPA waiver. Then they go back to their Naviance after doing that. and there will be a little box that will indicate that they need to match their accounts. It's a little fuchsia box right at the top of the page on Naviance. They'll click that little match accounts. They'll put in their email that they use to set up the Common App, and then the accounts will be linked. One important thing to note is if the school does not appear on their colleges they're applying to list on Naviance, we have no idea that that application exists. So in streamlining and ensuring everything is the way that it needs to be, filling out the Common App, applying through the Common App if it's a Common App school, which, as we said, most schools are. But there is the potential that it's not a Common App school, which typically the school will have their own internal platform. They'll want you to apply through their website. But as I said, if it doesn't appear on Naviance, we don't know it exists. So that's very important.
So Naviance does have a number of discovery tools that students can use. Some students choose to use them. Some students will use Naviance more so just for the application process. But these are available to all students regardless of grade level. So there are self-discovery tools such as skills assessments, personality assessments. Some students have found it helpful if they're not sure what major they want to go into or what type of career they want to pursue. These are available to them. So Naviance will give you a series of questions and then give you a list of majors or careers that would be a good fit for your skills and your interests. There are career and military exploration tools as well, different college resources. Students are able to look at their GPA and their test scores and compare it to students who have gone through Wayne Valley in the past and have gotten into different schools or different programs and see how they stack up against students in the past and see what their chances are of getting into a specific program may be. So some students have found that helpful just to get an idea of what may be a target versus a safety versus a reach school. You can, of course, like we mentioned, request letters of recommendation. In fact, we ask that students do request their letters of recommendation through Naviance just because it keeps everything in one place. Occasionally, students will have either a coach or a boss outside of the building, of course, who is writing them a letter. In that case, the letter can be emailed directly to the student's counselor here. Likewise, we have students sometimes who will get a letter from somebody who no longer works in the building. And so in that case, if that teacher has contact with one of us, they will often just send us the letter so that we have them ready to go. But if a student has contact with that teacher still, like if they had indicated to the teacher before the year ended that they wanted a letter from them, the teacher may have provided them with their new email address. And so students may be able to get the letter that way or request that the teacher send it to us directly. There's a resume builder as well in Naviance, and there's scholarship search. So as we receive scholarship opportunities, we'll add them to there. These are going to be more of the national scale scholarships. So they are fairly competitive, but it's certainly worth looking into. The transcript verification form. So again, this is something that students are receiving, I believe, today. So they got their transcripts yesterday. They will be receiving this form today. They are going to, again, review their transcript for accuracy and sign off on this form. It's a Google form, so it'll go directly to their email. It's going to be a form that can only be accessed from a Wayne School's email, so the student needs to be filling it out from their email account that the school provided. On that form, they are going to say that everything on their transcript, that everything looks accurate, and they're going to indicate once again which letters they want to be prioritized if we can only send out 1 or 2 letters and the student has requested more than that. They don't have to include the counselor letter because we write a letter for all of our students and it's not counted in the teacher letter count. So if a school is asking for a maximum of 2 letters of recommendation from a teacher, we're able to send 2 letters from a teacher plus our letter as a counselor. So students don't need to include us on that list of how they want their letters to be prioritized. If there is some part of their transcript that doesn't look correct, just as an example, in the past, I've had students, In the past, we've had students who, if they have had a medical study and missed a marking period of PE, for example, they may be missing a final grade for PE. It's a very easy fix. But sometimes it shows up as a blank spot when it shouldn't. So if there's something on their transcript that just does not look correct, they should speak to the counselor. We'll get it fixed for them, and then they can sign off on the transcript verification form. Yeah. And then for the letters of recommendation piece, again, it varies by school on how many they ask for, how many they allow students to send. Typically 2 to 3 are recommended as far as what we tell students to ask for. That's typically the average of what we would see. A lot of schools will say around 2 letters. But we've seen some of the larger schools like Rutgers, for example, not take any. And there are some schools that will take 5, 6, 7, like that would be probably more than any student will ask for. But it's an option for some of them. Who should they ask? We recommend talking to teachers who either they've had more than once for class, a teacher who teaches a class or a subject that they plan on going into in the future and can attest to their skills in that topic. A teacher who maybe they've had for both a class and as a coach. So anybody who they just feel has gotten to know them well throughout high school and they've built a strong relationship with would be a really good option. Always ask teachers in person first. We've been telling students this since last year, and I know that a lot of them have done a really great job with reaching out to their teachers and forming those connections and talking to them in person. And then once they talk to teachers in person and the teacher says that they're able to write them a letter, they can then put that request in on Naviance. So again, students can access that by logging into Naviance, going to the colleges tab, and then right where it says letters of recommendation, there's a button that says add request. So once you know where to find it, it's very easy to add the request. It will ask, is this a general request or a specific one? We say general so that we can just send it to all of the schools as long as that's what the student is intending for. And again, ask as soon as possible because some teachers are already starting to fill up on the amount of requests that they can fulfill.
So the SAT and ACT, as we mentioned, many schools still remain test optional, but some schools are starting to ask for a standardized test score. The general guidance that we have gotten from college admissions is if you feel that the standardized test score will help your chances of an admission, then share it with us. If you feel as though it will not, which typically you'd be able to see if they were looking for a test score, they would indicate what their test score, their average student has a test score of. And if your score falls below that, then maybe don't share the score. But they want to know that if something that you did well with it and it's above, let's say they're looking for an 1150 or whatever, and you scored a 1200, share the score because it's going to give you more of an opportunity for potentially being considered. The student must submit a request through either collegeboard.org, which is the SAT, or ACT.org, an official record of the test score. Although we have record of these types of scores at Wayne Valley, it does not get sent out by us because it's an unofficial record. So if a student is interested in sending one of those scores, it needs to be done from the platform and sent directly to the schools the student is applying to. The SRAR is the self-reported academic record. It's a similar application process where the student is inputting all of their coursework, all of their grades, all the levels of all their coursework. Rutgers used to be an SRAR before they moved to the Common App. Some schools require it because it has more specificity and it gives them more information in making their decision. Helpful to copy. The students that are given a copy of their transcript for the transcript verification process, but they can also use, and obviously do use, their transcript to fill out their SRAR as well. We have college rep visits at Wayne Valley every year, approximately 60 to 70. These are representatives at either regional or their home territory is either the county or the state or even the region, like the Northeast. Typically, the rep is usually the first person to put eyes on a student's application. The list of schools that is coming to Wayne Valley is on the Naviance platform. Students are encouraged to come and have that FaceTime with someone that potentially is going to read their application as the first wave of consideration. So putting a name and a face to an application is sometimes very helpful for a lot of students, because if they make a good impression and they are interested and they are listening to the presentation, typically the college reps will give the conversation of, everything from programming to campus life to opportunities for students in every regard. And it's their pitch to allure students to be interested in applying to their schools. Seniors are allowed up to, I believe, 10 visits.
I think so.
They have to sign up in advance, which is a very easy process where they just click a button on Naviance that they want to attend. It is the right of the teacher or the prerogative of the teacher that if they have a test that day, that maybe they don't go to that visit. But we collect materials from the reps so that if there are students that could not attend, we have that material for students to come down to our department and pick those materials up. But like I said, it is a really great opportunity, and it's certainly, the students have that opportunity to continue that relationship with a potential college. They'll give them a little card to fill out. They take those cards back and they track students' interest. So if a student goes to a rep visit, if they go to the campus, if they go to an event at that college for prospective students, colleges track that interest. Is it certainly an opportunity for students to maybe stand out? Certainly. Do we know exactly what that looks like at colleges? We don't, but we do know that they track these data points. But like I said, we have approximately 60 to 70, and it is a really great opportunity for students to be involved in this process and really start to go from that fantasy phase of college planning to really doing the work to actively plan.
So this is a little disclaimer that we give to students every year. So some schools occasionally will look at social media accounts of students. We recommend that students just think twice before they post something. Consider putting their accounts on private, just so that there's nothing that an admissions rep might pull up that makes anything questionable about a student's application. And it's just in general good practice for when they're starting to look at applying for jobs and careers in the future as well. If they're doing internships throughout college, it's good practice just to be conscious of their presence online, making sure that if they're going to be on, if their accounts are going to be public, having things look somewhat professional, and at least just nothing blatantly inappropriate. And again, if they put it on private, it's probably even just for the best. So we've got a bit of time. So if there are any general questions that anybody has, we are able to answer them now. And if there are any specific questions that you have about your child, you are, of course, always more than welcome to reach out to your child's counselor. We will be meeting with students individually in the coming weeks and months to go over any information that they will need as far as their applications go and making sure that everything gets sent in on time for them. So any of the specific questions will certainly be addressed when we meet with your student, and we can meet with you as well. But again, if there are any general questions, we are available now. But if you don't have any questions, this does conclude the presentation. So thank you for everybody who was able to attend.
Parents do have Naviance login credentials. If you do not have access, feel free to email our department or the counselor specifically, and we can reset your credentials. You may not have the same functionality on the platform as the students do, but you can oversee and you can see what your students where they're looking to apply and what their lists look like. As Mrs. Feinberg has mentioned, now that we've done the large meeting with all the seniors, we will be doing all of our individual meetings with students, and we will meet with students as much as we need to ensure their process. This is an ongoing part of this is ongoing. So students come down, they're in constant contact with us via email, come down to our office. We're here at every moment to help. We do have a question. So Ms. Fan, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. Oh,
Yes.
she might have left.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I know that you guys put
Hi, Mrs.
together a
Fan.
presentation about Naviance in the past, but this is probably one of the most helpful and plus because it's timely, right? So it's just it's very helpful. So thank you. I have a question about the application on the Common App give you 20 spots, and that is easy for both student and for a counselor and teacher to link Naviance and send all the letters through Common App. However, if there's a few schools that do not allow a Common App, I know it's very rare, but there are, and it's on the list of my student, for example. And also, I want to ask about the case that there is option for direct application, and for the second platform, I don't know how to spell how to pronounce it, but the SCOIR. And the only reason that we would go that route if we don't want to take up spot on the Common App. How hard is it we don't want to create more work for the counselor because you have a lot to take care of, but how hard is it for you to go to the non-Common App route?
Not a problem at all. As I mentioned, every single school that a student is looking to apply to must appear in the Naviance, but they may not all be Common App schools. So it still gets sent out through the Naviance platform. It's just on our end, it looks slightly different. So it's not a problem for the student in any regard. They would apply through that college's internal website, and then just ensuring that it's on the Naviance platform, we can send all the information out. So when we upload the school profile, the letters of recommendation, the counselor letter and evaluation, and the initial transcript, which has the first 3 years of cumulative GPA and the senior year schedule, when we upload all that information onto Naviance platform, it's there. And then when the student applies, the colleges gain access to it on the Naviance platform, and they go on Naviance and they pull the data off of Naviance. So it's not as though we're sending the information to the specific schools. We're ensuring that it's all uploaded to the Naviance platform, and then the colleges are accessing it from that platform.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. So thank you for the
they just changed that process like 2 years. We're going on 2 years now. It used to be a little different in the past, not for anyone to worry about now. But yeah, so it's an upload, and once it's uploaded and it's all there, then colleges will, in their timeline, will pull the information from the platform, and indicating when a student adds a school to their list and how they're applying, whether they're applying early, whether they're applying regular, whether they're applying early action, early decision, however they're applying, they have to indicate how they're applying before the platform will allow them to add it. So we know what the timeline looks like. And if a student has an early action timeline, obviously communicating with the counselor so that we know that this is something that the student is pursuing, and we have a timeline to prioritize the letters and evaluations that we need to prepare for students in order to get all that stuff out on by the deadline. The deadlines that you see online for the application process, those are the student deadlines. The colleges are aware that a supplemental documentation is to follow. So it might not be in the exact moment. It's not like the student applies and then says, I applied. And then we say, okay. And then we apply 30 seconds later. It doesn't happen like that. The student applies. We confirm with them that we have uploaded on our end, which is why we typically ask the students to be in constant contact with us and let us know that they have applied. Quick email, or even popping in and saying, hey, Mr. Paul, just to let you know, I applied to these 3 schools over the weekend. And I respond back, I go on the platform, I make sure everything's uploaded, and I respond back to the student, I say, thank you for emailing, we were all set, everything's uploaded. So it's, as long as there's a constant communication and we're working with the students regularly, there's very little room for error, but things happen, and that's why we have to be constantly working with students to ensure that we don't miss anything. So thank you for your question.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for that. So, my child's counselor was Miss Laviola, and
Okay.
I understand that she's on maternity leave, and now
Yes.
he got assigned with a new counselor. How do you make the process simplest, especially when the student already been in contact with their counselor for many years?
So we have 2 people that are leave replacements for both Mrs. Laviola and Mrs. Michelson. They are here, they're working. Part of to your point, I think what you're insinuating with the letter of recommendation, and maybe they don't know your child as well as their counselor that they've been working with for a number of years already. That student college questionnaire that we put out for students to fill out has very specific questions, and it gives the counselor, even if the counselor doesn't have like a long-term relationship with your student, it gives them enough very specific information to write a very personalized letter. They also have the opportunity to meet, and we will meet with every single senior. We will send out an invitation to our students to sign up for their individual meeting. The meetings typically run 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the individual. And like I said, it's not a one and done. It's let's have our individual meeting. Let's create a plan so that we know where we're aiming our sights. And then after that, so we can meet as much as any student needs to. We're available during lunch block every day. Every single counselor is in their office waiting for students to come in. So I think sometimes one of the barriers is students want to go out to lunch as opposed to come in to work on this stuff. So where we are within the timeline for the school year, we push constantly to make sure that students are coming down, that they're having their meetings, that we're having these conversations, that we're setting their materials and their applications up so that they are, in a good position for, the college process.
Thank you for that. And that questionnaire is indeed very impressive. I was very surprised how thorough that was and how early it was sent out to be filled in. So thanks again for putting them together.
Of course.
And we got it before Hill, so kudos for Valley.
Yeah, actually, we sent it out at the end of last year.
Yeah,
we sent it
before
to
the school.
the juniors in around June. We sent it out. But we resent it, and we are resending it again today. So if a student has not yet filled out, it's okay. We are still very early as far as the application timeline. There are some schools that may be listed as either an October 15th or an October 30th early deadline. So if your student has one of those deadlines, please have them communicate that with us so that we can ensure that all this is done in a timely manner.
Yeah, so my last question, and hopefully I'm not taking anyone on time, is that the some school have obviously mandatory option and then have optional teacher. And we were talking about we want to make sure the optional is added. So there is an option for we can check off the list to have a school added the second teacher recommendation letter in the optional option, right? Okay. That's all for my question. Thank you again.
you.
I know that it's a public school system. You have a lot to take care of in terms of the quantity of the students. So bless you all and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have another question.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you both so much. I
Sure.
appreciate you. I'm pretty sure my daughter is running down Mr. Cheval's door, but just in case, just to piggyback off of what you said, for schools that have, let's say, a November 1st early decision or early action, do you think it's appropriate to click the apply and of course pay button on November 1st, the weekend prior? how quickly do these schools, I'm sure they're inundated.
Yeah, you
Does
won't
it
get a
matter?
response before the deadline. So if the deadline is November 1st, you won't hear any time before that date. That date is apply any time up to that date for that timeline. So if it's a November 1st, you can apply whenever you need, whenever you're ready before that date.
Right, it doesn't matter.
no.
There's no like,
No
because obviously they're
prioritization,
not
no.
looking at anything prior to that.
Right, right. Yeah, no, there's nothing as far as
Yeah.
we have the knowledge of. It's here's the deadline. You can apply anytime up until that day or on the day of. And
Right.
letting the counselor know, and then we ensure that the documents are in place.
Okay, so thank you. I'll make sure that she continues to be a pest to him.
Yes,
I appreciate
please.
all your info.
That's why we're here. It's
Pest seems to be a good thing right now.
yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Thank you again. Have a great day.
Of course. Thank you
you.
so much. Do we
Can I
have
ask
any
a
other questions?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, yes.
I didn't know, I didn't see a spot to like hit to ask a question, so I just unmuted my mic. I
Yes, that's
apologize.
fine.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, my son yesterday was meeting with a teacher to get to speak about a letter of recommendation, so he missed the guidance meeting.
Mhm.
His guidance counselor is Mr. Cheval. How does he go about getting the transcripts? I have a copy from over the summer.
Okay.
Is that going to be
So-
sufficient, or have they been updated?
They probably have been updated since your copy. We did print them out yesterday. So they
Okay.
are the first 3 years cumulative with their senior year schedule on their transcript,
And they're
which-
right.
Okay.
and their specific rank. That's going to change because it's going to go to the decile. We just put the rank on the transcript for the students so that they could see it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's if they weren't at yesterday's meeting, we
Okay.
have all the transcripts down in our department.
Mhm.
So students can come down at their leisure and just collect their transcript. The email for the student college questionnaire, the transcript verification form, the cheat sheet, and this presentation are going back out today, right after we finish our meeting now. We're sending that all back out again, so students have it. It's at the top of their email. So that they can, like I said, come down whenever they need to. We did make an announcement as well, saying that if you did not attend, to come down and get your transcript when you can.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And my last question is, and again, you may have actually answered it, but I don't know. The transcripts currently are loaded, like as soon as they connect the two platforms, the Naviance and the Common App, is that when you guys go ahead and you load the transcripts onto
Yeah.
their,
Yeah, we upload them in bulk. And as far as the initial documents, when the counselor's filling out what they need to fill out, we're doing an evaluation for the students. We're writing their letter of recommendation, the school profile, which lists all the coursework that we offer, the academic rigor, the basically all the metrics, all the numbers are on this school profile, which is available on the township website, if you wanted to see that. But that stuff is already, we do that behind the scenes, and it's all uploaded and it's in place. It's not until a student applies and then we hit submit, do any of the schools see anything. They won't see anything. Even if it's listed as colleges the student is applying to, they don't see anything until the student submits and then we submit.
okay. So with that being said, if we want to start to apply, like say the second week in October, then we need to well, my son needs to reach out to his guidance counselor and say, hey, I've started the application like I've started to apply. And is that when you will go ahead on your end and like and hit the submit button?
Once we have everything, yes. We try to send everything out all at once. If we're approaching a deadline, we'll send the essential stuff and then reach out to the student, have the student reach out to the teacher, give them a little gentle nudge and say, hey, by the way, I just wanted to remind you, I spoke with Mr. Paul. All my application materials are uploaded. I'm just waiting on your letter. And a nice little gentle email to the teacher to remind them. And then usually the letter is uploaded the next day.
Okay. But the children never see the letters.
The
Like,
letter.
we just,
Well, part of that conversation earlier about the FERPA.
The FERPA.
Yeah. So if they've waived their right, they don't get to see the letter. But teacher may say, did you sign your FERPA? And if a student says, no, I maintain my right, they may say, well, I'm not comfortable writing a letter, because they don't want a student to preview their writing. It might happen. It very rarely happens. I can tell you this is my 11th year. I think I've had maybe a handful of students maintain their FERPA rights, but it is your rights. So that's a personal and family decision. But if they waive their right, they don't see the letters.
Okay, I didn't know if the teachers, showed them to like, let them see it before they,
Right. Well, with that digital process, the teacher gets a
Oh.
notification of the request to write the letter. They write their letter, they do their eval, they hit submit, and it goes right onto the platform. So it never passes through the student's hands,
Okay,
never
right.
physically.
okay. So we just have to have good faith that they wouldn't agree to write
Yeah.
the letter.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Okay.
I said earlier, like no one's going to trash you in a letter.
Yeah.
They're just going to say, I'm not comfortable writing a
Yeah,
letter.
we've
I've
never
never
bad
had, and we
letter.
see the letters. I've never had a teacher write a bad letter ever.
Okay, no, I just want,
No, it's a legitimate concern and question.
Okay.
Sure.
all right, thank you.
course.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. If we have any other questions, please feel free to unmute. All right. So as I mentioned, there is parent access on the Naviance platform. If you do not have access, feel free to email the department, email your child's counselor specifically. We've had a little bit of change in staffing, so you might not know who your child's counselor is, or there may be a leave replacement in for your child's counselor currently. If your child has Mrs. Michelson, they have Mr. Singh, Mr. Paul Singh. If they have Mrs. Laviola, the replacement is Krista Prestafilippo. So those are their names. If you don't know their emails or can get in contact with them, just call the main line. They'll patch you through to guidance and then right to the direct counselor.
Real quick about the parent access to Naviance.
Sure.
Do we have to wait until our kids set it up?
Nope, they all should be set up already.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if you don't have access, just email us and it's a real easy. We click a button and it sends you a direct link with a temporary password and login with the email that we have on file that you've given us as contact. And then you can go in and set up your personally your password from.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Temporary. All right. It doesn't look like as though we have any other questions, but that doesn't mean that we won't have questions after we leave. So please do not hesitate. Reach out to us, phone call, email, in any way that you need. We are here at every moment for anything that anyone has questions about. Beyond this, this presentation is recorded and will be available hopefully by the end of the week, and it'll be on our webpage. So thank you everyone for attending. Please reach out. This is a little busy of a timeline, but as we say to students, in this moment, you need to be looking at this stuff daily, if not at least every other day, because it is definitely that type of process where the students are very relieved when they're done, but it is very nuanced and there are always questions. So feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for everyone that attended. If you know anyone that was unable to attend, please remind them and let them know that it is being recorded and we will have it posted. So thank you so much. Everyone, take care.